turning purple and his eyes just roll back in his head. What a beautiful kick by Kazim Ayek. Look at this straight to Mara. My God! My God, what a slam by Mara!
This is the FightBox Podcast with Don Roy.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the FightBox Podcast. My name is Don Royd, and thank you for downloading today's episode, which is brought to you on Wednesdays, absolutely free, thanks to the FightBox HD TV channel, and is available to download and listen to on www.fightbox.com, on iTunes, and on Stitcher. This is a podcast that is a reflection of what FightBox HD is all about, and that is the world's best compilation of combat sports disciplines, all on one channel, featuring interviews with fighters from all around the world in a range of different fighting sports. Everything from MMA, kickboxing, and Muay Thai to pro wrestling, sumo, and everything in between. From Hall of Famers to amateurs, every fighter has one thing in common, and that is a unique, interesting, and heartfelt story from their own personal experiences in the world of combat sports. All right, everybody, thanks for downloading, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for listening to this edition of the FightBox Podcast. Got a great show coming up for you today, but right off the bat, I just want to thank everybody for sharing the information on social media. Our numbers have been increasing a lot recently in past episodes, and that's due to you guys liking the podcast, sharing it, getting the word out there, and also due to the great guests we've been having recently. If you are a kickboxing fan, then you probably enjoyed last week's show with Super Combat President Edward Iramia, and he had some huge announcements to make, including an upcoming show perhaps in December in a cage for Super Combat, how he intends to find the next big superstars and the global search that he's going on to do that, some reality show work that he's working on, and so many other things. And coming up on today's program, another big kickboxing edition, as we're going to hear my conversation with Josh Johny. Jauncey is going to be fighting Giorgio Petrosyan in his comeback fight in Glory, and Josh has some very interesting things to say about that fight. He's very confident going into this fight, and he seems to have a game plan, and he talks all about that and so many other things, including his family background in kickboxing, and his thoughts on Glory, and how he feels about promoting the fight. You know, recently it was Joseph Valtellini taking to Twitter and talking about how fighters need to promote themselves, they need to, draw more attention to the product, and Josh Johny gives his opinions about fighters cutting promos, I guess, for lack of a better word, and generating interest and talking trash and things like that. The entertainment factor involved with professional fighting. And speaking of Glory, it's interesting to note that they're most likely, if not definitely already, not going to be on Spike Television any longer. So it'll be interesting to see where Glory ends up, if anywhere. So I think the future of the promotion is in jeopardy, at least to remain on the same kind of level that they are on, because kickboxing, just like anything else, is a business, and it needs money, it needs sponsors, it needs television to be able to succeed. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can land another television deal in America, or if perhaps they're looking to be more European based. They do have this Milan event coming up this Friday, November 6th, Glory 25. And then I believe the next event is going to be in Amsterdam. So maybe they are becoming more European-based again. But we'll have to see. Maybe they will end up on Destination America like TNA was. TNA was on Spike. They didn't do squat to promote them. And even though TNA really didn't have much to promote, I mean, if you've got a program on your channel, you think that you would want to promote it. It seems that really all that Spike is interested in promoting is Cops. I mean, for Christ's sakes, who wants to watch reruns of Cops over and over again? There's enough crap on the internet as it is of American police shooting and, shooting people, killing dogs, dragging students out of their desks and beating them to death. You can find enough of that crap on the internet if you want. You don't need to watch it on Spike TV day in and day out, constantly. But they didn't really do a good job of promoting Glory on there. And heck, back in 99, 2000, when ECW was on Spike, they didn't do diddly squat to promote them either, and they had an awesome product with the fan, a pretty big and constantly expanding fan base, which was very passionate about the product. And it's just a shame that Glory, Spike seems to be interested in promoting fighting sports, but then once they get them on there, they don't really do a good job of promoting them. But I don't know. Will they end up on Destination America like TNA? They seem to be in the fighting sports game. Maybe Access TV. They've got a bunch of fighting sports on there. Maybe FightBox. You never know. I don't know. I'm not in the acquisitions department, but there could be an option for them as well. And in fact, we already show lots of Glory on FightBox HD. So if you have the channel, look for the program. Our name for it is the First League. I don't know why we have to call it that, but for some legal reason or something. So look for the First League on FightBox HD. We've got all the recent events. We've got the event from France that they had not too long ago, and basically all their material from the past, and we're always showing that on there. So we've got lots of Glory. We've also got it for free on our YouTube channel, which if you just go to youtube.com and search for our channel name, which is FightBox HD, all one word, we've got a bunch of fights from Glory on there for free. And another fight we've actually got on there is the last Petrosyan fight when he took on, well, it wasn't his last one, but one of his biggest ones after the wristy loss, which was Giorgio Petrosyan versus Enrico Kale from Milan, Italy, coincidentally enough. And now Giorgio is going to be back in his home base of Milan, this time fighting for Glory. And he will be taking on my guest, Josh Johny, this Friday, November 6th. And the day after that fight, we're going to see on Saturday, November 7th, live on FightBox HD, Super Combat Fighting Championship returns live to FightBox HD, Saturday, November 7th, 6:30 p.m. Central European Time is the starting date on that one. 6 big fights on the New Heroes series, starting on FightBox HD. So a lot of good bouts. There's going to be 6 fights on the card. The main contest of the New Heroes is going to be Rafał Dudek of Poland taking on Cristi Milia of Romania. Dudek is another fighter who is just recently signed to Glory. He's currently ranked 6th in the featherweight division. That's the 65 kilogram, 143 pounds division. He'll actually be fighting in Romania this Saturday at 71 kilograms. So his weight is fluctuating. But hell, if you're signed to Glory and Super Combat, you make the weight, because those are the promotions that you're going to get noticed in. Those are the fight promotions that people are most interested in watching. So if you've got a fight there and they tell you you're fighting at that weight, you take it. You can watch the Super Combat action live, streaming on the internet at fightboxlive.com. It's $14.99, but I have to remind you about this. So many people don't know about this, and it kind of irks me because so many people complain, about this, having to pay for the stream, but you can watch it for free. There's a free trial on the FightBox website. If you go to fightboxlive.com or filmboxlive.com, either of those websites, you can watch there's a 30-day free trial. So get the free trial if you haven't used it up already. If you like the quality, if you like the HD, if you like the fact that there's no annoying pop-up ads and all that crap to click through. If you like the fact that you don't have to worry about the stream being shut down, if you're satisfied that, you don't have to worry about lag and missing the fight, then, maybe after your 30-day trial expires, you can consider getting a subscription to FightBox. But on the other hand, you may already have the channel on your satellite provider or on your cable system. And if you're not sure if you have FightBox HD, the best thing to do is to just go ahead and go to www.fightbox.com and click on where to watch. And it has a list of all the countries and satellite systems and cable systems that we are available on. And, we're over 40 countries in the world right now. So odds are in your country, you do have FightBox. You may even have it on your cable system or cable provider or satellite system. So go ahead and check that out. But we're going to go ahead and get to my interview with Josh Johny here in just a second. As I said, he'll be fighting Petrosyan, Glory 25. Looks like a pretty good card. Another interesting matchup, the main event. Van Roosmalen will be defending the lightweight title against Sid Chai. And that should be a good one. And, it'll be interesting to see if the winner of Petrosyan Jauncey will get in line for a title shot or not. I think it's very likely that they will. Or either that or they may have to fight one more bout. But also a 4-man welterweight tournament at 77 kilograms. Couple interesting fighters in there. Murtel Grunhart is a part of that tournament. Kareem Gaji is a part of that tournament. In fact, Kareem Gaji was also on that card with Enrico Kale and Giorgio Petrosyan. And if I didn't mention it already, you can watch that Kale-Petrosyan fight on our YouTube channel. Kareem Gaji was a part of that event too when I was there doing the commentary. He had a great fight with Fabio Cisliani at that huge Octagon event this past April. That was one of the best fights on the card. It was a bloody, brutal battle, but Kareem Gaji did get the victory and did a good job on there. Another fight on the Glory card, Gabriel Varga will be facing Sergey Adamchuk for the featherweight championship. That's not even on the main card. I think that's weird how Varga versus Adamchuk for the featherweight championship is not even on the main card, but, what do you want? So, Friday, November 6th. This Friday, as I'm recording this, as the podcast drops on a Wednesday, Friday, November 6th is the Glory 25 card. Saturday, November 7th, the next day at 6:30 p.m., Super Combat live on FightBox HD. But we are going to go ahead and go to my interview with Josh Johny right now. So, how you doing today, man?
Yeah, good. Just finished training, did some strength conditioning, and then now I'm relaxing for the rest of my Sunday.
Okay. So, are you training 7 days a week, or do you normally train on Sundays, or?
No, normally I don't, but this week I had to because I took a different day off.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
How often are you usually in the gym? Twice a day, or?
Yeah, twice a day, 5 days a week, and then usually once on Saturday.
Right. So I'm assuming that most people who are listening to this know that you're fighting at Glory 25 against Petrosyan.
Yep.
How's the preparation coming? Everything going smoothly and?
Yeah, everything's going great. I mean we've got the whole team focused on this. I got everything going. My nutrition, my body's feeling really good. I've brought in a friend from Holland who's got a very, very similar style to Petrosyan, and he's been training with me for the past week. I got him for the next couple of weeks too, and everything's going great.
Cool. Are you doing anything differently in your preparation to fight for Petrosyan? Has anything changed, or is it kind of business as usual?
I don't know. Every fighter for me, there's something different. Every fighter, everything we prepare for, every fight we prepare for, we prepare differently. Every fighter has a different game plan. You have to different style you have to prepare for. Petrosyan is a guy who has a very different style from everyone else I've ever fought. So yeah, we're, like normally, we're preparing differently for each one.
Okay. Yeah, because some guys I talk to, they just say, I don't like to know anything about my opponent. I just like to get in there and, react to how it comes. But, other guys too, like you, they like every single guy. I think, though, at this level, though, right, you kind of have to prepare for your
Yeah, well,
opponent.
there's some fighters who are very generic, and you can train with anybody for them, and uh, you can you can do your own thing and you'll beat them. You know,
Hmm.
uh, there's a lot of fighters like that you can just get away with it. But there's now we're talking about different sorts of fighters. I just fought Sidichai. That's a guy that had I fought on a single fight and not had to prepare for the first fight, I would have trained differently for. If I'm fighting Petrosyan again, I have to train differently for. If I was fighting, Van Roosmalen, I would have to prepare slightly differently for. So everyone's different. You have to have a different way of going about training.
Yeah, that was the thing about Glory 22. Were you expecting to fight Sidichai? Assuming that you had gone through the first round, did you think that he was going to win?
Yeah, we were pretty sure he was going to win, but with Dave, you can never really count David Kyria out.
Yeah.
He's always got something up his sleeve. You never know what could happen with him. But really, the most obvious thing kind of did happen. But again, you never quite know. So we were kind of expecting, for the most part, we were expecting Petrosyan, Sidichai, but yeah, anything's possible. And really, we were just focusing on the first fight, getting through the first fight, because it's not
Right.
like you're going to get to the second without getting through the first.
Yeah.
And originally, I had a very tough opponent, or a crafty opponent, in Nicholas Larson. And then, of course, he got injured, or he got that nasty infection. So I was
Hmm.
training for him completely, and then he got injured. So then I had to switch off to Chris Pasuku, and then he didn't get cleared to fight. So then I fought someone who was completely different from both of them, in Jimmy Koulibaly, and yeah, and for that, I mean, that was a good fight for me. But I because of all the changes, I didn't get a chance to prepare for anybody in that whole tournament.
Yeah. Does that have some kind of an effect on you, like mentally? Does it frustrate you or kind of piss you off in that kind of situation, or do you just say, okay, next fighter, let's keep going?
Well, I know. It pissed me off that I lost to Sidichai,
Yeah.
but now I just hope the next time I fight him, I look forward to the next time I fight him and having an entire training camp focused on fighting him, because I know I can beat him. He didn't he, he didn't do anything that was after the fight I didn't feel like, wow, he was amazing. I didn't feel like that. After the fight I was like, okay, well, that he wasn't bad, but I can beat him. I know I can beat him. Yeah, he's basically, since I've been a professional, I haven't fought one person that has lived up to the expectations I had of them.
Really?
Yeah, no one.
So, I mean, looking back on the fight, like, would you have done it? If hindsight's always 2020, but would you have done anything differently, or will you do anything differently that if you step into the ring with him again that you can talk about, or?
Of course, I'll do things differently, but that's for me and my trainers to talk about when the time comes. Right now, we're focusing on ending Giorgio Petrosyan.
Hmm. In that first round match, you were really going to town on his legs. At which point did you know, like, okay, I've got this thing?
I knew from the second round.
Yeah.
From the second round, I knew I broke him. I broke him probably mid second round, and from then, at that point, it was just a matter of time to I can just do what I want until the end of the fight, or I can crank it up and really stop him. And I cranked it up a little bit, but not too much. And then I knew I had it in the bag at that point.
Yeah.
I had my rhythm. He wasn't everything he did. I saw. He had nothing for me after the second round, or even after the first round. He didn't really have anything for me.
Yeah, you could tell that you were pretty much having your way in there. Did you feel like pressure at any point to really kind of end the fight early? To try to get in there as quick as possible to the next fight.
No, not really. I was just taking the fight as it went. Um, yeah, I was just taking it as it went. I wasn't thinking too hard about it. I was just thinking about hit that leg, hit that leg, hit that leg. that's all I really thought about.
Yeah. What about when you're preparing for like a tournament though? Because it's, I mean, do you do anything differently if it's a tournament? Is it does that change anything?
Yeah, you kind of just train in intervals. You do 4 rounds, take a little break, and do another 4 rounds of whatever you're doing, or
Hmm.
you train in intervals, and just for for your conditioning to get used to cooling down and then going again.
Right.
Um, and Yeah, but otherwise you just have to try kind of train for your opponents. And but I mean, really, all you can do is focus on the first fight because the goal is to get to the last fight. And if you spend too much time worrying about who's going to be in the last fight, you forget about who's going to be in the your immediate obstacle, which is the first fight.
Hmm. What were you doing between the two fights in the locker
Uh,
room?
well, I had a big lump on my ankle from the first fight,
Oh yeah.
and so we were kind of icing it, and I think I had a burst eardrum from the first fight too.
Really?
Well, I don't know if it was burst or if it was just I had a little slit in there or something. I don't know, but it wasn't right. It definitely wasn't right. But we just lied to the doctor and said everything was fine,
Mm.
and quickly put some was just sort of rubbing the goose egg and icing it a little bit, try to bring the inflammation down, and then we just went back out again.
Oh
I
wow.
didn't have any time to warm up or anything.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were taking care of your injuries. You didn't have any. You weren't hitting pads or anything like that, right?
No, we didn't have time.
Yeah. Okay.
We went in the back. The doctor came and checked me. We changed my gloves. We were back out again.
Hmm. How thorough was the check then? I mean, were they just like, "Hey, are you cool?" Or were they actually like,
No, they did a little check, poked some things, and I just I just bit down and pretended like nothing hurt and went back out for the second fight.
Right. Yeah, so coming back to Petrosyan, yeah, I guess his reputation kind of precedes him. And, a lot of times you'll ask the person, well, what do you know about this guy or whatever? But I'm sure you know everything you need to know about Petrosyan. You said he's got a specific style, that you've got somebody that you've been working on with. Petrosyan, he's so lightning quick and things like that. And he's very, very technical fighter. Do you think that it would be better to approach the fight and kind of, fight his style? Because you also have a very technical style. So, like, do you think that that's going to be the story in this fight, where it's going to be, who's quicker, who's more responsive, or would you prefer just to go ahead and brawl with him and try to maybe throw him off his game?
Well, I know I'm quicker. I know 100% I'm quicker. So it's not a matter of speed. I know I'm quicker. Um, yeah, he's got a good eye. He's sharp. He's sharp with his eye. He's got very good reactions.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, you guys are gonna see what I'm gonna do. I can't say what I'm gonna do, but you guys are gonna see it. And after this fight, he's gonna get beat a lot. If he doesn't retire after this fight, he's gonna get beat a lot after this fight.
So you'll
Uh,
think you'll beat him up good enough that he'll maybe have second thoughts?
I think I'm gonna expose him. After he loses this fight, I'm gonna expose him, and people are gonna know they're gonna know the recipe. I've found the antidote. I found the recipe, the way to beat the doctor. And after this fight, a lot of people are gonna see it, and the ones who are capable, who can, do what I'm gonna do, they will beat him, and they'll continue to beat him.
How did you find that antidote or that cure? Was it through your training and through advice that you got, or through watching tapes, or?
I've been watching this guy since I was 15 years old.
Right, right.
I've been watching this guy since I was 15, 16 years old. I've been looking up to this guy since I was a kid. I was looking up to him, when I was a kid and everything. So I was looking, I was watching all of his good points.
Mm.
Um, I watched everything he did well. Now he's my opponent. Now I watch everything he does bad, and I watch it in great detail. And so does my team. And I have a very, very sharp team. My father, my brother, Andy Souwer. We've got, and also Paul Lamoth is a trainer in Holland who helps Andy and myself when I'm there. We're very. I've got a team of very keen eyes,
Hmm.
and we've studied him a lot. We've studied him a lot, and my teammate is a guy who's fought him twice,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and I'm friends with people who have trained Risty to beat him. I know I'm more capable than any other fighter here of doing any game plan possible.
Yeah, I was
You
going to
know,
ask you about Andy Souwer, having fought him twice. He must be instrumental in, preparing some kind of a game plan for him. How influential has he been in your obviously, you've been training with him for a while, but has he been even more instrumental in this preparation since he does have, quite a bit of experience with Petrosyan?
well, I've been preparing in Canada for this one. I haven't gone to Holland for this,
Oh, really?
so I haven't trained directly with Andy for this fight. But we stay in contact, and him and my father stay in contact, and they talk and discuss about the game plan. And yeah, I mean, he knows the mistakes he made against Petrosyan. He knows the things that worked against Petrosyan. So and my arsenal is bigger. I'm not saying I'm better than Andy. I'm not saying that, but my arsenal is bigger, and my arsenal is bigger than Petrosyan as well. I have a lot in my arsenal, and yeah, you guys, everyone's going to be, I think, very surprised with this fight.
I think that a lot of people were expecting maybe to see a Risty Petrosyan rematch, or maybe see, I don't know, Sidichai and Petrosyan or something like that. How do you think that Petrosyan is viewing this fight? Do you think that he's viewing this as like a setup match, or do you think that maybe he's taking you lightly?
It's yeah, exactly. It can go either one of those ways. He can. Well, I think it's the two extremes here. He's either thinking, okay, this is going to be a walkover, which I hope he thinks that, or he thinks this is going to be, this is someone I have to look out for. And judging by how other opponents have seen me in the past, I think he is preparing really hard for this fight.
Do you think that because he got knocked out by Risty, and then he had like a couple of comeback fights? Do you think that he's changed since the Risty fight at all? I was
Of
actually
course,
there
of
doing the
course.
commentary in Milan for the Enrico Kale fight.
Yeah, no, he's changed for sure.
Mm.
He's not as sharp as he used to be. He is sharp. There's no doubt about it. That he's always sharp. He's a great fighter, but he's not what he used to be. When he won K1, that was the best he's ever going to be. That was his pinnacle. I haven't even reached my pinnacle yet.
Yeah, that's the thing about you is like with all your fights in glory, you've had less professional experience. You've been the younger fighter, so I guess that must not bother you anymore, right? Because you've
No,
been with every fight in glory, it's been like that.
I've had 8 professional fights only, and every single fight I've had has been against a top opponent with way more experience than me. I have not had one fight against a guy with equal experience than me, or a guy with um, no, every single fight I've had, my first professional fight was on a small show in Holland. After that, I was fighting the Infusion champion.
Yeah.
On my second pro fight on 2 weeks' notice. My third pro fight, I was fighting Hinata. My fourth pro fight, I was fighting Warren Stevelmans. I've only gone higher and higher in competition since I went professional. As an amateur, I only fought, guys from North America. I fought one guy from Holland as an amateur, but I didn't have that many amateur fights either.
How many
So
amateur fights did you have?
I only had 20 amateur fights.
Hmm.
20 amateur fights and now 8 professional fights. And as a professional, I've only consistently been fighting big names. That's it.
Yeah.
And so now I don't care. Now I'll fight anybody, and I know I can stand with everybody because, like I said before, no one has impressed me. No one has lived up to the expectation that I had in my mind of them.
Not even the Sidichai afterwards?
He didn't. No, he didn't live up to the expectation I had. After the fight, or during the fight, I said, okay, his kicks are, they're okay. They're not as hard as I thought they were going to be. They didn't hurt as much as I thought they were going to be. They were just annoying. That's it.
Yeah, well, I think
You know?
that's the mindset I think that you got to have if you want to be a champion, right?
Yeah. No one. You build up these characters in your head, and you see these guys fighting. Especially when you're a guy like me who's been fighting since I was a little kid. I've been watching K1 since I was 3 years old, and you build these guys up to be superheroes. They're gods. They're on a whole nother level. That's how I see them. But when you actually finally get in the ring with him, you realize this guy is just a guy. He's really, he is just a guy, and he can't be that much better than me. He can't be, because it's not humanly possible to be that much better than another human. He's still my weight class. He's yeah. So no one has lived up to the expectations I had of them.
How much do you think that, confidence and your mental preparation has to do with your success inside the ring?
I don't think about it. I just go and this is the opponent, and I go, okay, I'm fighting this guy. This is who I'm fighting. I try not to dwell on it. I don't sit there and think about the whole mental aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I prepare for the guy. I'm well prepared. We train according to this guy's style and everything, and I find what will, eliminate all his options in the fight.
So, I
Until
mean,
dominate.
do you have to do anything to kind of like, for the usual tired old cliche, like to get yourself in the zone or anything like that, or to kind of, block out distractions or anything like that, or do you just kind of just roll
No,
with it?
man, I'm a fighter. I don't need to force things.
Right.
This is who I am. This is who I've been since I was my whole life. This is what my life has revolved around. This is my life. I don't do anything else. I'm a kickboxer every 24/7. This is who I am. I study kickboxing. Everything I do is kickboxing. Um, so I'm constantly mentally prepared for the fight.
I guess that's a lot due to your dad, right? Because he was, I mean, I don't really know much about your dad, but I mean, what can you tell us about his career?
He had 30 fights. He was 27-3.
Mm-hmm.
He fought from, I think, when he was like 16 until his late 20s or so. Um, he was British champion, Hong Kong champion, and Macau champion.
Okay.
And he was a great fighter. He was one of the pioneers of kickboxing and Muay Thai in England. But he often doesn't get quite the recognition that some of the other guys get. But he trained with all the best in England. Ronnie Green, all those guys, with Master Toddy and them. And my dad is a very especially respected guy and known guy within the old school community in England for martial arts and kickboxing.
So was he one of those guys to train with like the first like Thai masters to come over to England, or?
He actually trained with his first trainer for Thai boxing was a guy called Steve Morris,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a karate instructor. My dad started with karate with him, and then and Steve Morris went to Japan and realized he didn't, and within England too, realized he didn't like what was happening with karate. Everyone had their black belts and they were nothing. So he started slowly changing into Muay Thai and kickboxing, much like Jan Plas from Majiro Gym. Same sort of story. And my dad grew with him into Muay Thai and kickboxing, and then from then he moved to Hong Kong and trained there, and also trained in Thailand and stuff. And he also trained with Master Toddy a little bit as well, and like I said, with Ronnie Green and Howard Brown and those guys.
Yeah. Was it possible to really get a lot of fights back then?
I don't think it was that easy. And back then you weren't making a living from fighting.
Mm-hmm.
My dad always had a second job as well as fighting, or after his fight, he told me he'd have to go to the grocery store, and now he had the money to buy his groceries after a fight.
Oh,
And
wow.
that kind of stuff. You weren't making a living back then. You're doing it 100% for the passion.
Yeah.
There wasn't people sponsoring fighters back then. There was, because no one was fighting on. Not many guys were fighting on TV and stuff back in the 80s. So it was purely for the passion. And once the motivation kind of went and my brother was born, it was, he had to sort of focus on just having running his gym and making money to provide for the family.
How far back does it go? Does it go back to your grandfather or anything older than that? Has it always been a tradition, or was your dad kind of like the first one?
No, my dad started it with the martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he started with karate. I think he was about 14 or so.
And you mentioned you have a brother too. Does he fight as well?
Yeah, well, I have two brothers and a sister as well. But only one of my brothers fights. He's my brother who's immediately older than me. Yeah, he fights. He's also one of my trainers. Well, he doesn't fight anymore. He's had about 5 fights, but he's one of my trainers as well, and he's got a very keen eye for the sport. He's older than me, so he's been watching and studying longer than me, and he's very good at coming up with game plans and seeing the small details in fighters.
Yeah. Do you feel that your dad pushed you into the sport, and that it was kind of like his idea, or that it was at all like forced upon you, or what were you just totally into it from the very beginning?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, and to be honest, my dad, he didn't push us at all. Um, the only thing that he wanted was that we did some sort of physical activity.
Yeah.
It could have been ballet for all he cared. It didn't matter. It just so happened that I was at the gym a lot because sometimes we didn't have a babysitter or something, so I'd just go to the gym after school, and just hang out there all night. And of course, when when he's teaching people, he's teaching classes, training fighters, you get drawn into it. And I was always training a little bit. As a little kid, I was more interested in doing like acrobatics and capoeira and stuff like that. And I really idolized Bruce Lee. He was my idol all the time. Him and my father were my idols, and so I really liked that stuff. And until I was probably about 12 or so, I didn't really care to watch fights. I didn't like watching fights at all. I just got bored with it. But I had my first fight when I was 9 because I wanted to give it a go, and I was a show off. I am a show off, and I wanted to show everyone what I could do. And yeah, I was 9 years old. I had my first fight, and I loved it. I lost it. I lost my first fight, but I loved it. And since then, I'd always wanted to fight.
But how does that work? Like when you get a fight at 9, I mean, was it just arranged like at the gym, like for fun, or was it like?
It was at a different gym, and my dad asked me, "Hey, would you like to fight?" Because it's seen that I had been improving, and I think I don't remember 100%, but I think I was asking to I wanted to fight, and one of the other gyms had another kid who had been training for quite a while, and I think he was a year older than me or so. So they said, "Hey, you want to fight?" I said, "Yeah, okay." So me and my brother fought. We both had our first ring fights on the same event, and yeah, I lost by decision, but I had so much fun that I couldn't wait to do it again.
So it was actually like part of like an organized show, yeah, and there were like more
Yeah,
experienced guys like in the main event
yeah,
and things like
it
that.
was, yeah. We had me and my brother, and then also another guy from the gym who was a very good fighter. He fought on the same event, and yeah, it was part of a bigger show. And I think I was one of the first fights, and was all padded up, headgear, big gloves, shin
Yeah.
pads, all that stuff. And yeah, it was a nice little fight, and
You still remember it?
slightly. We had a video of it, and we let someone borrow the video because he also fought on the same event. He was going to copy it, and sure enough, he never brought it back. So we don't have the video anymore, which kind of sucks.
That's the joys of, owning VHS cassette tapes and things like that.
Exactly. So I hope maybe one day we see it again, but I'm not crossing my fingers.
Mm.
But yeah, it was. I really had a lot of fun, and I've always had a lot of fun performing and being on stage and doing that kind of stuff. When I was doing capoeira, I was always doing performances, because I didn't take a break from kickboxing, but I was doing capoeira as well, and I focused a lot of my energy from when I was like I think 9 to 11 on capoeira, and I used to do a lot of performances there, and whenever I got a chance to do it on a talent show or something at school, I did it. And I like performing, and like I said, I'm a show off. So any chance that I get to show people how good I am at something, I do it, and I perform to the best of my ability.
Yeah, my background is actually in pro wrestling, and I think that a lot of quote real fighters underestimate the importance of the show
Hmm.
aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like you see guys like Rampage or something, in MMA, or all these guys who like to talk trash. Mayweather is another great example. And even if they get beat, obviously Mayweather's never been beat, but he makes these ridiculous amounts of money. It's because these guys know how to sell the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they know how to run their mouths, they know how to build it up, they know how to get people interested. And I think that even if you're like a fighter who gets beat, like if you're interesting enough, you know what I mean? Like people are going to want to see you fight, and promoters are going to want to book you, more often. Look at a guy like in the UFC, Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
lot of people think, well, maybe he's not the best guy out there, but he really got his foot into the door and got his big fights through running his mouth and through
Yeah.
all of the hullabaloo that goes along with it. So it's definitely a part of it. It's fighting, but at the same time, people watch it for entertainment too.
Yeah,
So
they totally do. But also on the other hand, I don't think that it's up to the fighters to be the ones who have to sell it all the time. Um, Liver Kick wrote a nice article about this recently that, with K1 and stuff back in the day, they didn't rely on the fighters to sell the fight. They had a great marketing team which would sell the fight for them. Peter Ertz, he's not a big talker.
yeah,
He's not a big smack talker. However, in Japan, they absolutely love him. People cry at the sight of him. He is a legend there. And he didn't do it from talking. All he had was his lumberjack vest and his hat. You know,
yeah,
and a real fighting spirit. And he would fight. He would fight to the hardest, his hardest all the time. And they didn't rely on other people or they didn't rely on the fighters to sell the fight. They did it. They were able to do it just by telling people their stories, and that's nice, because it sort of takes a load off from the fighters when they should really just be focusing on smashing their next opponent.
yeah. Well, a lot of
Um,
times the fight just sells itself too. I mean, like this guy's gonna fight this guy, and you're like, oh shit, you know what I mean? So like,
yeah, exactly. But I don't really necessarily agree with putting that on the fighters.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
this is your organization. This is your company. You guys are the ones who are trying to. I'm not profiting from your pay-per-view sales yet.
Right.
When I start profiting from your pay-per-view sales, then okay, maybe I'll start. Maybe I'll want to start selling a fight more. But you give me, if you're not giving me incentive to sell this fight, it's up to you. You're the guys who are trying to get this, who are trying to get your company bigger. So you sell the fight.
Yeah, that's true. But it is a point to be made that sometimes people can get themselves into situations and further their careers just by running their mouths. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
Like,
sure. But then what? And then you
well,
get
then you got to back
they're
it
gonna
up.
talk
Yeah.
themselves they're gonna talk themselves into a fight that they shouldn't get. Look, I think, I like Conor McGregor. I think he's funny, and I enjoy listening to him, and I think he is a skilled fighter, especially after watching that last fight. But I do believe Aldo is going to smash him and walk through him, and I think he's going to slightly regret what he said, which
Yeah.
all the things that he's done. Well, maybe not regret them because he's made a lot of money from it, but he's a money motivated guy. I'm not a money motivated guy.
Mm. It
I'm a
was
guy
like
who's
with who did Ronda Rousey fight last time? That Betch Correa. She was running her mouth about Ronda's family and things like this. I don't know if anybody really took her
no
seriously,
one took that seriously.
but she ran her mouth and ran her mouth and made it interesting and pissed off Rousey so much, that people wanted to see it happen, and of course
Yeah,
it did. It didn't really take too long.
no.
Yeah, so I guess, coming back to your dad, I mean, he being a second generation, fighter, it must really give you an advantage, right?
Yeah, I've been a kickboxer since ever. I've been around kickboxing forever. I didn't start with any sort of other martial art and progress into kickboxing. I've been a kickboxer, a Thai boxer since day one. Um, and it's not, I'm not like a guy like Petrosyan who started fighting when he was 14 or something. I was 9 years old when I started fighting.
Yeah.
I was 3 years old when I started learning how to kickbox. Um, I think my only disadvantage was that I lived in Canada and I didn't live in Europe or Thailand or Japan where I could fight more often. Um, that's my only complaint and maybe only downfall is that I lived here where it was very difficult for me to get fights. So I don't
Yeah.
have the ring experience that other people have, but I do have the training experience, and I have been in this sport for much longer than most people.
Can I ask, why your family moved to Canada?
There was just a better opportunity, a better yeah, but there was a new gym and it was a better opportunity for us. And my dad gets bored easily, and he was bored in England, and so they thought, yeah, they liked Vancouver. They'd been to Vancouver before, and they thought it was a good decision. Before we were in Vancouver, I think just before I was born, my parents lived in Spain for a year as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they were teaching there, and they realized people weren't that into fitness and kickboxing in the area that they were in. So they moved back to England, and then they've got the opportunity to come to Canada.
Yeah, we have another program on FightBox called Journey Fight Series from Alberta, Canada. Have you ever heard of Journey Fight Series or the Smandich family?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a really nice event, especially for here. It's he does a really good job with it, and I would like to fight on it sometime too. It'd be nice.
Yeah, it's like, do you feel that the North American fighters and things kind of are still not taken seriously? It seems like people complain when, like, Glory is all the time in North America, or things like this. Do you feel like the North American fighters deserve that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, they deserve it. That there's not many. If I'm not trying to talk too much shit, but there's not many good guys out here. There's a handful of very good fighters who can compete on the world stage in kickboxing, but kickboxing isn't that, and Thai boxing isn't that big here. So you see more guys focusing on boxing and MMA. Also, it's not really a jab at the fighters. It's the fact that we don't have much support to fight here, or incentive to fight here for kickboxing. It's not, like I said, it's not very popular in most of the provinces. It's illegal to do pro kickboxing. I think
Really?
some it's even illegal for amateur. I think too. Um, yeah, it's illegal here because the lawmakers are stupid and illogical. Um,
But they allow boxing, right?
they allow pro boxing, they allow pro MMA, but because when they were passing the bill, they didn't include kickboxing because it's not very popular. It's not current. They just forgot about it. It slipped their mind. They didn't write it on the bill. It's not. It doesn't count.
Oh my God! So it was like
Which
a
doesn't make sense. Because
technicality or
basically,
something?
yeah, it's just stupid. It's a matter of how you read it. It's a matter if you use logic in your day-to-day life or not to read it. Like if you can do if they have any sense. That's the problem with the commission and the people here, is that none of them are fighters and none of them have any idea about the sport. So they read the bill, they see, or the law, whatever, as boxing, MMA. Okay, I don't see kickboxing. But if you're a slightly intelligent person, you'll understand that in order to do MMA, you have to kickbox. There's no MMA without kickboxing or Muay Thai.
Unbelievable.
Except now we're doing it with tiny gloves.
Yeah.
So, but they allow that, but they don't allow kickboxing. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of weird.
it's very weird. So, I don't know. I think maybe in Alberta the guys there, the commission there is a little bit smarter, and they understand that to them, they see it in the same way I do, and it makes sense to them. But here in BC and the rest of the country, they don't see it like that, and they're very stupid and stubborn about it.
That's
So we
weird.
don't get to fight here.
Yeah, so
So
you've
because
never actually had a fight in your hometown then?
not as a professional,
Oh,
amateur, yes,
they
and
allow
this,
amateur, but not pro there, yeah?
yeah, and this whole thing is new. This whole commission is new. We didn't have a commission before. Before it was a bit like the Wild West. It was pretty bad matchmaking, and people fighting weight classes. Fighting people weight classes much heavier than, lighter than. Like it was pretty bad. But at least we were fighting.
Yeah, you mentioned that, MMA is really, popular over there, and of course in the United States extremely popular. So have you ever thought, like, at any point, like, maybe I should switch to MMA? That seems to be where it's at.
I've thought of it, um, but that's where what's at. Like that's where the money is, sure,
Mm,
and that's where the popularity is, sure.
right.
But I want to be the best kickboxer. There's a certain prestige. There's a certain thing that comes with being the best kickboxer.
Hmm.
People see uh, Ernesto Hus, people see Peter S, people see Andy Souwer, people see Bacau, people see Masato in a different light than you see Cain Velasquez. You know, you see them differently. And for me, anyways, from my perspective, I see them differently. I see them as something else. I see them as a different, a whole. It's a different level. That's my opinion, but maybe that's because I'm biased. I don't know.
So you think it's better, for a fighter to focus on one discipline?
No, not necessarily. If MMA is what you want to do, that's what you want to do. If that's your passion, I think it's all about what is your passion.
Hmm.
My passion at this point in my life is not jiu-jitsu, it's not wrestling, it's kickboxing and boxing. My passion lies in the stand-up fight sports. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna leave my passion just for money. If I was gonna do that, I would go get a regular job as well.
Yeah.
You know, this is my passion, and this is what I've been taught to follow: is to follow your passion, follow your dream. That's what my parents have always instilled in me to do. You know, do what I want for my life. You know, so I'm not gonna change that just to follow some money or to follow the popularity.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I was gonna ask you. Is there anything else in life? Doesn't have to be a different combat sport or anything like that that really takes your interest that you think maybe I would follow that path instead, or it's just all been kickboxing.
No, I love boxing.
Yeah.
I really like boxing. And I've trained with some boxers in the past. The guy that's actually here right now helping me train for Petrosyan, he used to be a boxer. Now he switched to MMA. And the first time I sparred with him, he made me feel like I had never even trained a day in my life. And that when that happened, because he was able to just pick me off that time, the first time we trained over in Holland, and the first time that happened, it gave me such a new appreciation for boxing. Here I am, a guy who's been training my whole life, and this guy, when we're just boxing, is toying with me, and that it frustrated me to know, to see that, and I thought, I need to get to this level now. I need to get to that level where, I can just toy with someone who's been training his whole life. And I've progressed so much, and now I'm training with him again, and I'm doing great now. So I've only gotten better, and my I hate, yeah, how do I say it? Um, I I really really have this burning desire to be the best, and if whenever I feel I'm anything less, I get very frustrated with myself, and I make sure to train to make it better and to get to where I want to be.
Is your goal to be the best in glory right now, or just simply the best wherever that takes you?
I just want to be the best kickboxer there is. When people talk kickboxing, they go, "Oh, have you seen that Josh Johny guy?" You know, not when they talk glory, because I understand there's other big talents outside of glory, um, but I want to be the best kickboxer, just like how people saw Petrosyan, how people or maybe still do see Petrosyan.
Hmm.
They consider him the best kickboxer. Well, it's time for a new generation, and he took over. He took over one generation, and he's beat lots of the K1 guys. He took over one generation, but now he's closing in on 30. I'm just in my early 20s. I've got a long time,
So,
and
what do you think this means for your career if you beat him? What do you think should you be the number one contender, or should you? Where do you think you should go if you are successful?
hell yeah, I should get a title shot after I win this.
Who
You
do you
know,
think's going to win that fight between Van Roosmalen and Sidichai?
that's a good question. It can go either way. Um, if I know Robbins hasn't fought a tie before, he could end up with the same problem that I had. Uh, on the other hand, he's a very solid guy. He's not as tall and lanky as me, so he might be able to hold his ground better with the kicks and go through it and tag him with a good punch. It can go either way. Sidichai could do what he did to Andy as well, to Robin. So we don't know. It's going to be it's a good fight. It's a very interesting fight.
Mm.
Um, but I wouldn't be upset with fighting either of them. I'll be happy to fight either of them. And Robin has not beat Petrosyan. Sidichai has not fought Petrosyan, but I don't think he would beat Petrosyan either. Uh, I beat Petrosyan. I believe I'm better than them. If I beat Petrosyan, I believe I'm the best fighter.
Yeah, well, I mean, if people don't know right now, Van Roosmalen's obviously the champ. Sidichai number one, Risti at number two, Kyria at three, and you're ranked at four. So, where do you think Risti lies in all of this? That's an
He's he-
interesting.
he's a very good fighter, and he's very uh, good at what he does. Um, but he's so inconsistent that you don't know. You don't know. He could. It depends. When you fight him. How long the fight's going to be. What day you catch him on. It's just he's just very inconsistent. But he's great at what he does, and I've studied him a lot too, and he's very good. But yeah, he's inconsistent. So he can be a very hard fight. He can be and well, he's never really an easy fight, but he can be a very winnable fight too. So yeah, you never know with him.
Cool. I just wanted to touch on one more subject here with you, if you have time. About your training and things, because you mentioned that Canada is there's a lack of a fight scene over there and things like this. You've gone abroad to different places to train. Can you talk about some of those places you've been? You've mentioned the gym in Holland and things like that, right?
Yeah. Well, my first training experience going abroad was when I was 15. I went to Holland. I trained at Magiro Gym with Andre Manat, and also I trained with my friend over there who also owns a gym. His name's Ono Hansen, and I eventually trained with Tommy Vanderberg over there too, who's also a very top fighter from back like Rob Carmen's day from Magiro Gym as well. That was my first training experiences in Holland. And then the next year, I went to California and I trained with Peter Cunningham. And
Okay.
he's an old friend of my father. He was a great fighter. He's a Canadian as well, but he trained at the Jet Center with Benny the Jet and all that.
Yeah.
And I trained with him because my dad, we both saw that I needed help in my hands, and he had very good hands. They called him the Sugar Ray of kickboxing.
Right.
So I went over there and I trained with him for 6 weeks and helped improve my hands, my footwork, all that kind of stuff. And then I went back to Holland, and every time I went to Holland, I also went and trained a little bit in England at my dad's old gym, Cobra Gym in London, with Tim Isley. I trained, which is one of my dad's dad's old students. Trained a little bit with him as well. And then I've also got a chance to train with Ronnie Green, who's a English kickboxing legend. He fought a lot of the great Thais and beat them, and he's a great fighter. I've trained a little bit with him. And then I started training more with Andy in Holland, and now I'm part of Team Souwer, and I train with him consistently, and I train with him and who he trains with, and he trains with the best. And I've trained with Rob Carmen, I've sparred with Peter Ertz. I've trained with the best, and I consistently train with the best. I like to surround myself with the best fighters, and every time I've ever trained with these top fighters, they always tell me, "You are the next talent." Every time I was at Magiro and I was, doing my training, and some top fighter walked in, Andre would always point me out to them and make them watch me. And at the time, I didn't realize why he was doing that. And now, as I got older, I realized, because he saw that I am someone to watch. And I'm beginning to believe that, finally. And I believe that I'm the future of kickboxing.
Wow. So you couldn't have asked for a better upbringing, in the sport.
No,
Is
I have
there,
no reason. I have no reason to not be the best here.
Right.
I have no reason not to be. And that's what I tell myself, and that's what I know. I have no reason not to be the best. I have everything going for me.
Is there anybody besides your dad who you think has had the biggest influence on your career?
Besides my dad, I think Andy Souwer has had a very big influence on my career.
Yeah.
Just because I looked up to him so much as a kid. I first started looking up to him, when he first got into K1 that was at a time when I didn't really care too much to watch fights. I found them kind of boring. But I was just starting to get interested in watching. I remember my dad talking, "Wow, this new guy in K1 is so good," and I started watching, and I really enjoyed watching him fight. And from then on, I really sort of studied his style and everything, and I tried to be him in my style, and I'm not really, but at the time I did. and then getting the chance to train with him and meeting him first of all was just a crazy experience for me, and then getting to train with him and just slowly becoming closer and closer with him, and now being part of his team. And being part of his team was something I said when I was like 16, like, oh man, I can't wait. I would love to be part of Team Souwer and have that logo on my shorts, and that felt so good to me. And then I did it, and I've consistently achieved every goal I've ever wanted since I was a kid.
So, they say you should never meet your heroes because they'll disappoint you. It wasn't that way with Andy, with you, was it?
No, no, especially not in a kickboxing sense. No, not at all. He's he's such a good kickboxer. He's so amazing, and he's a great guy. He's a really good guy, and he's very humble, almost too humble. And he helps out anyone that he can. He's almost too nice, to the point where I think it's a little bit detrimental for himself. He's so nice. And he's a really good guy. He's a good guy.
How much of what we see of you in the ring today is what you have, all the pieces that you've kind of put together, and you've kind of thought about it on your own, and you've kind of developed your own style, and you do your own thing, and how much of it is actually from a direct result of, like, taking orders and taking advice from other guys and putting it directly into your fights?
Everything I do has a twist of Josh in it. Nothing is. I'm a very coachable person, and I listen to everything that I'm told, and I try everything that I'm told. But I will always do it with a little taste of Josh in it, especially, and that's what, whenever I go abroad for training and then I come back to Canada and train with my dad, now I take what I learned from them and I mold it into my style. My dad molds it into my style, and we leave the things that don't work so good for my style, and we keep the things that do work for my style, or we change it to make it work for my style. And and that's the thing I keep hearing, in Josh, the Dutch style, this and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, sure, I've got a bit of a base of the Dutch style, but I add everything, and I don't want to just be known as someone who uses just the Dutch style. I like that style; it's a very nice style, but I mix it in with the Jauncey style, and this is what we do. We do the Jauncey style. We're unpredictable, we're sharp, we're fast, and we go for the KO.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed about you, was your speed, and how good it is. We're kind of winding down here. The fight is Friday, November 6th, in Italy. How soon are you gonna go over to Italy?
We're going there. I think we get there on Monday. I think fights on Friday. We get there Monday, I think.
Mm-hmm. Does jet lag ever have a big effect on you?
Nah, doesn't do anything to me.
Right.
I'm awake at all hours. I'm awake late, late at night. I wake up early for training. I can train at any time. I can fight at any time. It doesn't bother me.
Cool. All right, Josh. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to answer my questions. If fans want to get in touch with you, are you on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything really. My name on Instagram and Twitter is Jauncey93, and my Facebook is just Josh Jauncey. And I always reply to every message I get, and every tweet I get, I always reply, because let's be real, I'm not a famous guy yet. I don't have that much free time. I have a lot of free time still, so I'm more than happy to answer everybody, and I appreciate all the support that I get. It really means the world to me. I still can't believe there's like 4,000 people who like my page on Facebook. It's, for some people it's not a lot, but for me it means so much, because I never thought I would. Well, yeah, I mean, I knew I would get to this point, but I didn't realize how many people would appreciate me from countries that I had no idea where they are, nothing. So yeah, I really appreciate it, and I want to thank everybody who does support me like that. And my sponsors that have helped me for this fight. I've had some new sponsors for this fight that have really helped me out, and helped me bring over people to help me train, and helped me focus on this fight. The True Line Power, 2 Under, Training Day Cafe. They really helped me out. So it's I think people don't realize how much sponsors really mean to us when they're helping us financially, and it's really a big help, especially in a sport where you don't get paid that much in kickboxing, and you don't get that many fights. So it can nearly bring me to tears getting that sort of support.
Cool. So, I know I'll be watching, and I'm sure a lot of the other audience who's listening right now will be watching. So, just want to wish you good luck in that fight. All the best. And once again, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Going to go for this is effective enough.
All right, so there you go. Josh Jauncey right here on the FightBox podcast, and certainly want to wish him good luck in his matchup with Giorgio Petrosyan this Friday, November 6th. It's going to be Glory 25 from Milan, Italy. What do you guys think? What do you think of Josh Jauncey? What do you think his chances are against Petrosyan? You think he's going to win? You think that Petrosyan's going to win? And I don't know. I think that some people may think that Jauncey perhaps comes off as a little bit arrogant, maybe a little bit cocky. I, for one, just think that he's extremely confident, and I think that he's in the correct mind, the correct state of mind that you need to be in order to win, in order to be the best. He wants to be the best. He wants to defeat Petrosyan. He wants to get into title contention. He wants to be the champion. He wants to be the number one kickboxer in the world. And I think that you have to have that kind of mindset in order to get to the top. And as we talked about in the interview, he's already had all the best training, from his dad and from all of these legends of, kickboxing in the past and present. And it's all on his shoulders now. It's put up or shut up time, and it's a big opportunity for Jauncey to make a statement and to make a name for himself and to really put himself on the map worldwide as a top fighter. So be interesting to see what happens this Friday, November 6th. Will also be interesting to see what happens the following day on Saturday, November 7th, live on FightBox HD, 6:30 p.m. Central European Time. As I mentioned, Super Combat makes their return back to FightBox HD. Seems like it's going to be a great show. It always is. The New Heroes series will be live on FightBox. You can watch online, fightboxlive.com. The main bout of the New Heroes series is going to be Rafał Dudek of Poland, who's also currently signed to Glory, taking on Cristi Milia of Romania. And that's going to be a barn burner. Dudek is a fighter he's trained at Mike's gym. He's trained in Poland. He's fought in Japan. He's fought in big promotions in Europe. And also the number 6 ranked featherweight in Glory right now. So you can watch starting at 6:30 p.m. Central European Time this Saturday, November 7th. Big fight weekend. Glory on November 6th. Super Combat on November 7th. Couple of other shows as well this weekend. So it's a big weekend if you're a kickboxing fan. Also, if you are a kickboxing fan, then you want to tune in to the FightBox podcast in 2 weeks' time. My guest is going to be Artur Kashenko on the program, one of the top fighters in the world in his weight division. Hasn't really had any big fights lately, to be honest. I don't know if he's really fought anybody who's really in the same league as him. And we talk about why not. That's one of the points that we really talk about. He also talks about a lot of the things that went down in Glory and why he's no longer fighting there anymore. And a whole lot of other stuff too, including the death of one of his Ukrainian colleagues, one of his another great fighter, Sergei Lashenko, who passed away earlier this year. That's in 2 weeks' time on the 18th of November, Wednesday the 18th, my conversation with Artur Kashenko. In the meantime, Luther Ward is back. Boy, that was a really popular episode. Luther Ward, who is a professional wrestler for NXT, WWE's developmental system, and I guess also one of their third brands, actually. Luther Ward was, he spent a lot of time in NXT, and if you didn't hear that episode, definitely need to go back and check that out. All the past episodes can be found on FightBox.com. If you click on podcast, you'll have all those past episodes, and that was a really popular episode with Luther Ward a few weeks ago. And he'll be back for part number 2. Last time he talked all about NXT. This time, next week, he's going to be talking all about his experiences in Japan, his experiences as a promoter in Europe, promoting American Wrestling Rampage, which is one of the biggest touring events, professional wrestling events in Europe, with huge names like Booker T, Scott Steiner, Bret Hart, Test, and just, Rob Van Dam, Sabu, the list goes on and on. And he was the promoter, he was the organizer, he was the booker, he was a wrestler, he's pretty much everything involved with that. He talks a lot about that, talks about wrestling for me in Poland for Do or Die Wrestling and his experiences here, and so many other good stories from Luther Ward coming up next week on the FightBox podcast. And by the way, if you guys ever have any questions that you want to submit to me, I always let you guys know who I'm going to be interviewing beforehand, whenever it's possible. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask some of these fighters, then just follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter at DonRoydDDW. I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/RealDonRoyd. And, also FightBox is a lot of times that information is shared on the FightBox channels. FightBox is on Instagram at FightBoxHD, and also on Facebook, facebook.com/FightBox. So you can also check out, as I said, all of our free videos on our YouTube channel. If you just go to youtube.com and look for the name of our channel, which is FightBox HD, all one word, FightBox HD. You can see so many good free fights. We just uploaded a fight not too long ago from the last New Heroes series on Super Combat. So you can check one of those fights out for free. It's a great fight. Got lots of other stuff, as I mentioned, from Glory, from King of Kings. We've got some boxing on there. We've got some MMA. We've got some stuff from our live events, stuff from America, stuff from Thailand. We've got Muay Thai. We've got some karate on there and other martial arts. So it's a really good deal. And you should check that out. Our YouTube channel, FightBox HD. All right, everybody. Well, that just about does it. That just about wraps it up for another edition of the FightBox podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week and my talk with Luther Ward on November 11th, and then 1 week later on November 18th, Artur Kashenko going to be joining us right here on the program. Thanks once again to my guest, Josh Jauncey. Thanks to all you guys for downloading and tuning in. Thanks for sharing this information on Facebook, on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and continue, please, to share and spread the word about the FightBox podcast. Each and every Wednesday on FightBox.com. That's the place to find it. Also on iTunes and on Stitcher. And we'll see you right back here next week. My name is Don Royd. So long, everybody.